Welcome in to a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered here live. Go Chevrolet, driving us every single day. Remember, online, GEAUXChevrolet.com. Get in touch with our friends over there online. Shop all the inventory. If you're looking for brand new cars, it's easy to find them out in Laplace, Louisiana. You can also stop in here in Baton Rouge and check out Go Express Auto Sales, which is always bringing you Go Chevrolet is always bringing. What am I hearing? I hear an echo.
The TV.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was wondering what the hell was going on here. Online, GEAUXChevrolet.com. We're going to talk to Sammy Spiegelman coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning. We will talk the latest in recruiting with Sam as he will stop by here. As we said yesterday, big time for camps, summer camps going on with college football recruiting. And we will talk to Sam Spiegelman from On 3 coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning. So if you have a recruiting question, jump in here. Depressing day for LSU baseball fans yesterday as the Tigers season come to an end last night as Southern Miss advances onto the Super Regional and will fight Ole Miss. Ole Miss gets past Arizona down in Coral Gables, so Ole Miss heading over to Hattiesburg for an All-Mississippi Super Regional between the Golden Eagles and the Rebels. Tough one for LSU as they gave up a first inning, first batter home run to Southern Miss, but able to scratch across a couple there in the first, and always kind of felt like they were in control early on in the game, but they weren't able to close that one out. I think they only had 3 hits past the 4th inning yesterday, and weren't just defensively, and their pitching just haunted them yesterday, and just not good enough to get over the show.
It was just
not get over the hump.
And everything was set up perfectly too for them. If they were able to win that game, you'll be able to host a regional. Bianco comes back to town, and what would be his son against him, obviously in an LSU Super Regional. Like, everything was kind of lining up for another great run for LSU, and it just. The same things that plagued them all year reared their head in the last game of the year.
Yeah, which I kind of thought last night, like, is it on us to really be surprised at, the way that this season ended for LSU just because of how poorly at times they have played this year? You know, really defensively and, unable to find any consistency with their pitching staff and being able to put anything together. Now, look, that's a long weekend. That's a lot of baseball. That's a lot of arms that you got to go through. I mean, you get to the 7th game of a series, and you've exhausted a lot of the energy on your pitching staff. It's tough to overcome. But I think Jay Johnson was pretty direct, but he was very respectful last night in his post game press conference. Stating that Southern Miss's pitching was just far superior than they could overcome, and that LSU needs to get tremendously better at that part of the game in which, he was asked a direct question. I believe it was Glenn West, the big fellow, who asked him just kind of what changes, and he kind of just said, look, I'm going to respectfully not answer your question right now because it's all about the current team and celebrating what, just kind of talking about what they had accomplished and how tough of an ending it is for that particular squad. But he mentioned every coach by name. Fitzgerald, Kelly, Jay John. I mean, that they all had work to do in finding, some arms. And I think, that was fairly obvious. And this team all season long, I think, kind of showed you the inconsistency, and to have it haunt them in the end, where it felt like, at times, they were in control of the weekend in the series. It may not have been a lot, but some of those comebacks and some of those magical moments that LSU created for the program and Jay Johnson in year one, it kind of felt like they were going to ride that into a super regional. But also at some point, like you and I discussed yesterday, Lloyd, I mean, you may be out of house money,
right?
That's kind of what I was thinking about it going in to the game yesterday, that they may have used up all of the money that they were playing with the 8-run or the 10-run 8th inning on Friday night versus Kennesaw State, the magical comeback versus Southern Miss, and emotional win on Saturday night.
They almost did it again.
Yeah, they almost did.
Everything in the 8th inning again. They almost made that comeback, and then you get it tied up, and you hope. And this is a little bit going back to what when we're doing the show with Mikey and Jared Mitchell, and they're watching the game, and they're saying really what it came down to was obviously, like you said, there's going to be arms that are tired. You're going to have somebody that's already pitched that isn't going to have their best stuff be able to step up. And what really happened was LSU just had to go to the well too many times with Paul Gervais, who grinded it out yesterday and was able to keep LSU kind of in the game. But they went back to the first game against Southern Miss whenever they had whatever Slade or whoever, the guy that threw 9 innings all year.
Yeah.
And then he's able to get you 5, throw 5 innings and basically shut the door for LSU. And that's kind of what the difference was.
Yeah. Stewie, is this coming from the P to Z? The shot?
No.
Okay, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I thought I was just asking you, if you could remote that down. All good. Yeah, but I mean, it was, look, what were the true expectations for this baseball team this season under Johnson? In year one. And, at times it felt like this team could make a run to Omaha offensively, but I didn't. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I never trusted them defensively and from a pitching standpoint to be like a true championship contending team.
Well, you saw how we wanted to win. That was never going to change. They were going to use their offense no matter what. And that's how you could see how they kind of adjusted their pitching rotation, because they would go, he was so quick to on the hook for some players, because he was trying to, LSU would get a lead 3-1, whatever. And then he was trying to stop them getting tied again. He was trying to get a chance. He would put anybody in there that he could so that LSU could maintain that lead, get back to the offense again, and see if we can have one inning that pops 8-1. Now I don't have to worry about, who's throwing, get a more comfortable lead. LSU had their chances. I mean, you have Bianco up, bases loaded. It's those moments that you have to capitalize on if you're going to win and go to a super. That's what baseball is. It's pitching, defense, timely hitting. LSU did none of the 3 in the last game.
Came down to a couple of plays where LSU just couldn't make it, couldn't field the bunt.
I mean, I get the pressure. There's pressure in those moments. You throw Devin Fontenot out there again, who kind of saved you a little bit in his first appearance. But it's those things where it's easy work. That's pitcher fielding practice. You do that day one, and it's just step and throw. Gets caught in his shirt, and he can't find the baseball. You have Jordan Thompson that, has a line drive right at him. He jumps, it tips off his glove. It's those little things. Then they start to build up. Then you have a pass ball, moves the runners around again. 2 pass balls in 2 games. That shouldn't happen in 2 months, much less back-to-back days. So it's just the moment got a little big for him, and I wouldn't say Jay Johnson had a bad first year. I mean, you come into a new program where expectations are sky high. You kind of set the expectations a little bit higher when you bring in Jacob Berry. That's what kind of turned this whole thing. It's
sure.
Oh, they're bringing in possibly a first overall pick. You have Dylan Cruz, who could be a first overall pick. Kate Doty's a first-round pick. So you have 3 guys that are all going to go to the major league. They're all going to get drafted in the first round. That's a lot of expectation, but I don't think they managed it poorly. I think this is what happens in baseball. Just give yourself a shot. You just want to be able to play. And obviously it's unfortunate because, like you said, you put those 2 games together, those rides like that, you should be able to feel like, all right, this is what we needed. You need those one moments in baseball that all right, we have supreme confidence to be able to win, keep going, go to a super, come back to Baton Rouge. Then anything can happen. We're in Omaha. Like you saw it last year with Paul Maneri. They got farther than this year's team did. And his last year, they weren't nearly as good. So it's just all about kind of riding with Uncle Mo.
I think Johnson understands what has to happen to the roster to become a championship level contending team. I also think it was good for him to see some of the peaks of SEC baseball, right? Now he really truly has the understanding of week in, week out, what you have to be constructed like to be competitive. And the emphasis can be the majority of your team built offensively, but you can't focus on just your offense like you did in the Pac-12. You've got to put together good defensive teams, and you've got to have arms that you can trust to go deep into series, deep into regional play, deep into potential super regional and postseason play. So from a grading standpoint, I think that Jay Johnson's overall first year could be graded out as like a B, a B, a solid B, where there was times where it looked like it was going to take off. There were times where it was sputtering. There were times where they kind of found themselves and looked like they were going to make a run. But
Whenever
all in
they-
all,
yeah.
it was I think that this was about the ceiling of the team. Really, when you look at their overall body of work and watching them play all season long, to see them fight until the last pitch of the last game of a regional against a really good team too. I think at some point you've got to recognize that Southern Miss is really well built. They've got a nucleus of hitters that are tough to go up against, and their pitching staff is quite frank, they're just better. They're deeper, they're stronger, they're more effective. They've got both righties and lefties that they can come at you with. It's just it's a well built baseball team. In my opinion, that is a scary matchup if they can put it together like they did at times this weekend. I think you saw
They're just more consistent than LSU was.
they
That's
are.
what it comes down to. That's what the whole season looked like. It's LSU can have a 10-run inning, but also get backpicked on second base with Trey Morgan, and you have runners in scoring position. Like, that kind of stuff just can't happen. You're not going to win baseball games that way. You're not going to be able to you're not going to win national championships by playing sloppy baseball. And it happens. It happens.
Colton Mack, Cruz diving catch in center in the seventh was one of the most underrated plays of the game. He knows that it tagged a run, but they could have been a 3-run hit. Cruz it's scary to think about what he's going to be like next season. I think Doug Thompson painted a pretty good picture yesterday when he was here talking about, opening day, Dylan Cruz feels like he could be a big leaguer in college baseball next year. If you think about if he would have come out in high school, remember it was a 5-round draft the season that Cruz decided to forgo the draft and just come to college, right? So and there was wide speculation and a lot of belief that he was going to be a high round draft pick. So say he was coming out of high school, as Doug described it yesterday, takes him a couple of years to get through the minor league system, but you would think that potentially he would have the opportunity to be 2 years removed of his draft on an opening day roster, yet he's going to be on LSU's roster next season. So, the way that Cruz ended the season, the last month and a half, the last 5 weeks of the season for Dylan Cruz, I think he was the best player in college baseball. Obviously, I'm looking at that through a scope that is blinded by purple and gold. But the numbers, his ability,
Looks different.
the defense, the whole package, man. The way he runs the bases. I thought that even in the first inning, the way that he judged that fly ball that I believe it wasn't Barry. I believe it might have been. I forget who it was. Maybe Jordan Thompson hit into a center field gap where he was able to see it and get from first to third the way that he was running the bases. He's a different player. And to think that you got him for another year is amazing. Shane Smith, Cruz has another year, is amazing. Mike Menville, Trey Morgan getting picked off in the first was a big play. Lester Hebert, can somebody explain catching every pitch on one knee by our catchers with runners on? I don't know that stuff, man. I don't know that deep of baseball commentary to look into that type of analysis. But mic'd up was great yesterday watching the game. Lester Hebert says with 4 preseason All-Americans, he gives Jay Johnson a C-. Justin Pate says, yeah, I'm leaning more to a C. AJ Puro says, agree, Jordy, that Southern Miss was just better. Hunter Fournette says that the expectations is Omaha every year for LSU, no matter the coach. So, look, man, I think that when you put it on the poll, Southern Eye Center poll question of the first hour, what grade would you give Jay Johnson in his first season? Grade him out, A, B, C, or other. But I believe that he, in year number 1, I think that there were, when you look at Jay Johnson's first year, I think that there is, with the amount of people that we have talked to close to the program, I think that there was definitely a small bit of learning on the job with Jay Johnson. And I'm not saying by any means that he wasn't prepared for the task and the opportunity that he was taking on. I think Johnson is the right guy at the right time for LSU baseball, and he's going to get them right and have them playing for championships here in a couple of seasons. But in year one, I do believe at like the midway point, he looked up in SEC baseball and was like, damn, it's just a little different here, man. I mean, it just means more, right? I mean, the SEC, when you think about the entire athletic and baseball kind of being this solid sport of just so many programs that have put so many resources and financial commitment to baseball, whether it be coaching, facilities, recruiting, whatever it may be. And, every single week you look up and, I mean, you're in a damn gauntlet. You're going up against top pitchers and big facilities and, big-time players and, really good coaches in the other dugout. Not to say that Johnson hasn't done that coming up. He hadn't done it week in, week out coming from where he was from. So I think he looked up in the midway point and was like, wow, this was a little bit more competitive than I thought.
Well, they've had, you talked to Ben McDonald, I remember they said it during one series or whatever, but what Jay, the way he kind of put it is like there's no breaks here. There's not one weekend you can look at
there's no let up.
Yeah, there's not one weekend you can look on the schedule and go, oh, okay, we got that series. We'll be able to, you just can't because everybody here plays baseball. Everybody here puts more of an emphasis on baseball. Look at Ole Miss. They're a top one preseason team in the country. They stink all year, play LSU, sweep them, and now they're in a super regional. Like none of those teams are going to give you a break. And then I think another part that probably surprised him a little bit was the midweek games. Wherever you have to play, you get shots from Louisiana teams every Wednesday. And he's like, oh, they care about these games too. Like I can't, that you don't really have time to fix anything. You have to worry about winning instead of trying to get yourself right for a future game, and that's something that you just learn on the job.
And look, Jay Johnson has the number one recruiting class in the country.
He can
coming
recruit.
in. I mean, you think? I mean, look at this recruiting class that's coming in. 11 top 100 players in the perfect game overall national rankings, 10 players selected to play in the perfect game All-American Classic, 4 of the top junior college pitchers in the U.S., 13 players are ranked number one at their positions in their respective classes in their respective states. I mean, look, I'm not naive enough to think that he's going to land all of these guys and that, that some of them potentially aren't high-round draft picks. But, I mean, say he loses a quarter of them. This class is still loaded.
The pitching coach, Jason Kelly, said if we can get 4 or 5 guys, he said it would be unbelievable. Like pulling in just 5 guys from this class would be more than enough talent to make a difference on the LSU roster. And what you have to think about now that the season's over, Jay's going to have some uncomfortable conversations with some guys.
Sure.
And that's the part of the game.
Yeah. He was pretty forthright last night, I thought, on the podium as he was wrapping up the season and Gavin Dugard was sitting right next to him. I mean, he was openly recruiting Dugard to come back. I mean, he was like, look, we haven't talked yet, but I hope that Gavin seriously considers coming back. And then there was another reference kind of towards the end of it where he said, obviously Cruz was up there, but he said these 2 guys will have an opportunity to be a part of next season's run as well, and next season's push. So, look, I think he goes immediately into recruiting mode, right? I think that he immediately this morning starts to recruit some of his current roster back, and like Lloyd said, he's going to have some tough conversations with some people, but that's just, that's the nature of the beast, man. That's where you are when you bring in a new coach and you ask him to take it to the next level where you're competing for championships. That's how it works. I mean, some of those conversations have to be had where some current guys on the roster just aren't going to be here next year, and it's not going to be their choice.
And you saw Jay Johnson has no problem hopping in the transfer portal also. So everybody's a target.
Remember, Daily, we are brought to you by our friends over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. These are chef-prepared meals daily for everyone, pre-ordered meals. Relax, let them do the cooking for you over there. They offer at least 10 unique, delicious meals per week. What sets them apart over at Fresh Chef Eats is that all their meals are prepared fresh weekly, specifically for your order. All meals are available in regular sizes, or you can get the extra large sizes. They offer all of their meals offered in family sizes for up to 5 people. FreshChefEats.com. It's the summertime. If you're on the run, you're on the move, family's moving, you got a lot of time, you don't have a lot of time to cook and get meals prepared, have them made for you by our friends over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew do a fantastic job. He was in here yesterday, dropped off our pre-made meals for the week. It's very easy, very convenient, and it's fresh and healthy, man. It's a lot of passion and love that goes into the food over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Find out for yourself online. Check them out, FreshChefEats.com, FreshChefEats.com. We'll be right back. Let me tighten up a camera angle real quick, and we'll be right back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com.
Hey y'all, it's Mikey from Mic'd Up. Catch us live every Monday and Wednesday, 11 to 1. Talk gambling, talk sports, have a ton of guests in here, get a little perspective from the athlete side of it. We got Lloyd in the house, Jay Mitch is in here a lot of the time. It's a fun show, great show. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you don't like it, it's fine. Make fun of us, it's okay. Just get us out there, share us out there. We're having fun, we want to share our fun with you. Like I said, Mic'd Up, brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Every Monday through Wednesday, 11 to 1. Catch us live on YouTube, baby. See y'all.
All right, so LSU bounced out of the Hattiesburg Regional after a tough loss yesterday. A sack fly to right yesterday lifted the Golden Eagles 8-7 winners over LSU as the Tigers have their season come to a close at 40-22. Poll questions up right now. Brought to you by Southern Eye Center, located on Jefferson Highway. Stop in and see Dr. Ann Shaw if you got some questions about your vision and you need your vision checked. If you need a wide selection of fixing those vision needs, you can get over to Dr. Ann Shaw over at Southern Eye Center. Also, the great selection of sunglasses that they have over there. And if you mention the show, they take 25% off for you. So it is obviously summer season. You're out vacationing. You're out on the water. You're spending time outside on the weekends and you need new sunglasses. Stop in and see our friends over at Southern Eye Center. Mention the Jordy Culotta Show and save yourself 25% off of that wide sunglass selection. But the Southern Eye Center poll question of the first hour is the grade of Jay Johnson here in year one as LSU baseball has their season halted yesterday in Hattiesburg after a really exciting weekend, man. And I think it'll be a really cool weekend to look back on in Jay Johnson's first season and talk about some of the emotional wins that they were able to pull off in the postseason. They just weren't able to get over the hump. And I think the further that we get away from it, the more that it'll kind of shake out to make sense that this team was just too inconsistent to really be taken seriously at this part of the year. The cream is going to rise to the top here in college baseball, and I don't think that LSU just had the consistent nature to them to be a part of this class. K. Doty had a tremendous, as much as we talk about Dylan Cruz and we've talked about Barry at times this season, K. Doty over the last couple of weeks to me has felt like, as good of a player as LSU has on the roster. You hate to say that anybody's better than Cruz, but I would put Cruz and Doty as the top two players, with LSU. It just seemed like Doty gave it to you when you had to have it.
Clutch.
He had the clutch gene, especially here over the last couple of weeks. Big home run again last night. He was. I'd imagine if LSU would have won that game, he would have probably been the most. The
regional MVP
the
or what have
MVP.
Yeah. And you talked about a little bit about just the inconsistency of it. It stinks to see the guys that were hurt too. Trey Morgan was banged up all year. You see why you had to put McManus back at catcher. Like there is just some spots in the roster that you didn't have the guys at 100%. That's not an excuse. It's baseball, but you'd hope to see that. You come back, get a full healthy squad, run this thing back. Because Trey Morgan is a massive part of the lineup. You saw him be able to hit the way he was able to hit in the regional. He just clutch hit after clutch hit. He was unbelievable. So you get all these guys back. You get a lot of people back out, and you're gonna add some pieces. So I don't think it's fair to really be too critical of Jay Johnson in his first year. But LSU never makes it easy on themselves. Every time it gets to this time of the year, it seems like LSU baseball gets into some just wild game, whether it be, you remember the rally possum and all that. Like, it's always something with LSU, not even baseball, just LSU sports in general. It's always a wild ride. They never make it easy on themselves. But I guess that's why we like them.
So LSU baseball is moving into the offseason here, and I guess the next thing we'll find out is kind of the summer assignments for some of these players on where they're going and what leagues they'll be playing in as far as the summer goes, and then also who's going to show up for Jay Johnson here in year two in his first really recruiting cycle. Who is he going to be able to get on campus? And as Jason Kelly, the pitching coach, told the Mic'd Up crew a couple of Mondays ago for the selection show, They know they're going to lose a couple. They know that they're going to lose some people to the MLB draft. But if they can just hold on to a couple of them, they really feel like they can take it up a couple of clicks as far as the competitiveness of this team goes. And look, man, tough way to lose, tough way to fall out of it. You hate to see this roster not advance, but this is the time of the year where if you're not complete, if you don't have the full team, if you don't have the pitching and you can't defend, that stuff will get smoked out at this part of the season, and that's what happened for LSU.
Speaking of mic'd up, Southern Miss put out a little video yesterday shouting out Mic'd Up.
Yeah, I saw that.
We got caught in the
song in the
smoke.
moon.
I saw that.
Get this man off my field.
Oh, my goodness.
Saw Jay Walker was coming at Mic'd Up over in Lafayette. The voice down in Lafayette was that
Mic'd Up had a lot of smoke.
tweeting at him a little bit.
Yeah, Lafayette's going after their golden goose.
Yeah, watch yourself
their only
over
son.
there, man.
That's a lot of family you're pissing off.
Yeah, you don't look going to throw a barb at a Matuk from Lafayette.
Yeah, you don't
wake up in a swamp or not wake up in a swamp.
But Southern Miss and LSU fans seem to have LSU. They made me a little smoke
good
there.
for Southern Miss, man.
Yeah.
Look, man, if you're going to be and try and be competitive in this class, in this part of baseball, those are the weekends that you have to win. Southern Miss, for as much as they were preaching how LSU was loud and arrogant coming into Hattiesburg this weekend, you're still a program that you don't have any skins on the wall to really talk about anything that you've done from a winning standpoint. So I mean, these are the weekends that you gotta be able to overcome, and you got to be able to advance past the next couple of weekends to really have the credibility in college baseball. I think Southern Miss is a better team than LSU, though.
When LSU plays its best game, there's not a lot of teams in the country that can beat them.
No, I'm not. But I agree with that. But I mean, they just didn't show you enough throughout the season that they can get to that point, enough where you're willing to say, okay, I'll ride with them.
Right.
You know what I mean, they were so much more inconsistent of who they were rather than showing you, the Vanderbilt series.
Right.
I mean, if you give me the Vanderbilt series, I'm riding LSU to Omaha.
Absolutely, and that's what I think that was fresh into kind of everybody's mind. They make that late push, and you wanted them to be able to host a regional. If you don't, it's a perfect microcosm of their season. They go in and sweep Vanderbilt, then shit the bed the first game of the SEC tournament. It's like this is when you needed to win one more game to be able to host, because Southern Miss, I don't think that their crowd really took LSU out of it. I think it was more of just LSU being able to be in it, be at home, play on not a turf field, because that was just, baseballs were bouncing over people's heads out in the outfield. That's a home field advantage in itself, and it was just crackerjack field.
Pearson's chopper Saturday night.
Yeah. It works both ways,
Yeah.
but it's just it's a different kind of baseball. Baseball is meant to be on dirt and grass.
Make sure you hit the like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you being here on this Tuesday morning as you are starting and being here throughout the week. Make sure that you are interacting with us, so we appreciate that very much. And don't forget, daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Edward Jones. Daniel Newman helping us out with all of our financial strategy. If you're looking for financial advice, get in touch with the best. Daniel Newman, located out in Central Louisiana. Stop in and see him out there at Magnolia Square Drive in Central, located right across the street from Stabs. Mention that you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Easy to get in touch with our experienced financial advisor, Daniel Newman. 225-261-8262 is the phone number, 225-261-8262, or email him at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com, as Daniel can help you out with your financial strategy. And remember, if you work within the industrial industry, if you work within some of the plants here throughout the I-10 corridor here in South Louisiana, or even over in Houston, Texas, over in Lake Charles, wherever you may be located, get in touch with Daniel. He can help you out with the finances. He really understands how that field is operated as far as the financial setup goes, whether it be 401k, Social Security, whatever it may be. Let him answer and help some of your questions that you may have about your financial strategy today. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com, Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. As we mentioned yesterday, college football recruiting is in camp season right now, which is an enormous time for evaluation and building classes, especially down here at LSU when you got new eyeballs like Brian Kelly looking at some of these South Louisiana and some of these SEC recruits that are just in his backyard and being able to evaluate who they are. Sam Spiegelman, who travels the camp circuit and covers it just about as good as anybody out there, is going to join us at 8 a.m. this morning, where we'll talk to Sam about some of the recruiting strategy and what's going on with LSU here in the off season. Friday news dump for LSU football, and we didn't get to it yesterday, as baseball has really been kind of dominating the headlines. But LSU picked up another transfer cornerback on Friday afternoon. Now you may look at the school, the name, and be underwhelmed from the sense of you just don't know anything, or you may not have heard. But this is the sign of LSU continuing to try and stack this roster. Colby Richardson, who is a product of New Orleans, went to McMain High School and has signed with McNeese back in 2017. Frank Wilson obviously heading up the communication here. LSU scooped him up Friday afternoon. They announced it. I think this news has been it's been happening over the last couple of weeks here. But 6'1", 185-pound guy out of McNeese. 24 games he started over in Lake Charles for the past couple of years. He even had a start in LSU's Tiger Stadium last year. The last two seasons combined for 3 interceptions. Look, when you look at numbers, when you look at intangibles, when you look at when you look at the film Does it feel like an SEC player? But I think, it shows you the desperation that LSU is in need for people at that spot. They need players. And look, I don't mean any disrespect to Colby Richardson. I think that, he's got a great opportunity to come into LSU. And if he wants to play on this level, this would be a great, school to be able to cut your teeth and get in on. Obviously, LSU is looking to replace names like Derek Stingley Jr., Cordell Flott, both lost to the draft. Eli Ricks and Dwight McLaughlin are two guys that they lost to the transfer portal. Even guys like Darren Evans, who they scooped up very similarly to a guy like Colby, Richardson, where they needed bodies at defensive back a couple of years ago, and they went and got a state prospect out of Nichols who transferred in Darren Evans, and Evans now getting a shot in free agency with the New York Giants. As he was scooped up as an undrafted free agent in the process. So, those are just some of the names left behind, off of last year's team and, the guys that you have to replace. So, you've seen some Louisiana natives, guys like Joe Fuchsia and Greg Brooks come back home. Brooks, of course, the West Jeff native, and Fuchsia out of McDonough 35. Even Mekhi Garner, who has been through this studio and talked about his process in transferring in from Louisiana, originally from Dallas. Jarique Bernard Converse, who is a North Louisiana native and an all Big 12 player with Oklahoma State, and even Sevin Banks, who is a graduate transfer from Ohio State who transferred in to LSU at that position. They're looking for anybody. If you can play defensive back and you're out there, LSU is the school for you. If you want playing time, if you want an opportunity to play on the, on the highest stage, the most competitive stage of college football, LSU needs people at defensive backs, and I think Colby Richardson, is
how many spots
is
do
a
they have
testament
left?
to that. I would just 2 now, huh?
Just 2, okay. With you, we still need to get a tight end.
Tight end and offensive lineman.
Portal doesn't sleep.
Which I guess could, you could consider maybe even the same spot if they could pick up a little 2-for-1. But I don't even know if those guys.
The Les Miles special.
I don't even know if those guys exist anymore.
No, they don't. No Dylan Gordon's hanging out there.
Yeah, Dylan Gordon.
No Dylan Gordon's hanging out there.
Great basketball player.
I
could hoop.
Yeah.
John Curtis.
Yep.
John Curtis. Yep. Jump inside of the chat.
Dylan Gordon.
I forgot all about Dylan Gordon.
Had 3 left tackles.
He
was pretty much a left tackle at John Curtis, and then he just came to LSU as a tight end. Still 300 pounds though.
He can move.
CVL Jr. If the kid can play, he can play. I agree. Look, man, I'm not coming down on the kid. I'm just saying, for as much as the portal is swept every single day by big time recruiters. Right, every school has somebody on staff that's trying to make a name for themselves in the recruiting room. So they are constantly sweeping the transfer portal. It was kind of tucked away on a Friday afternoon news dump, and it wasn't that big of a deal. If he can come in and make an impact, that would be fantastic for LSU, man.
Is that that's a Frank Wilson move, huh?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I think it's an LSU move that they've known they've had to make. Like, they need more bodies at LSU. And I think Wilson's probably said all along, if we get to a point where we need to go grab Colby Richardson at McNeese, we can do that.
Yeah.
And I think they did that. I think that's just kind of how that room and how that thing works. I think that's we'll continue to see. We'll continue to see them search the portal for players because they still need them. Eddie Haskell says, totally underwhelming, Jordy. LSU has a roster parallel to Mississippi State. I don't know if LSU wouldn't trade defensive back rooms with Mississippi State right now. If you could go straight, just player on play. If you could go player for player, keep one, I guess LSU would probably tuck away Jay Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would, I don't know how many you put on the block,
and maybe like a Sage Ryan, maybe just because of
they essentially traded with Arkansas. They got two for one.
Right?
Yeah.
the portal. I don't know what LSU would look like if the portal didn't exist, because they would be barren.
We would be playing for
yes.
LSU next year.
I mean, they would have open tryouts.
Me and
You
Noah.
have to.
You would have to have like open tryouts. You'd be like passing out flyers in the quad. Did you play football in high school?
You got a huddle tape?
Are you interested in playing football?
Yes.
Noah, we saw you flexing in the mirror yesterday.
Yeah, your Cobra bag.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna have to lose a little bit of weight, eat a little bit of weight, and change the body up because you got to play DB.
Coach.
I think that's a non-negotiable.
No, but I mean, I'm even saying like without the portal, like their entire team is in trouble.
Yeah.
Like not even the defensive backfield. I mean, like think of what their offensive line's going to look like next year. And they'll have 2 transfers starting on the offensive line at least
2 freshmen.
right now with 2 freshmen, potentially 3 transfers.
With 2 freshmen, Emory Jones and Will Campbell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
true freshmen.
Yeah,
I mean,
true-
like
true.
18-year-old freshmen.
Oh,
That boy don't know how to take care of
no
dog.
dog. That's a 36-year-old man in a trapped in an 18-year-old body.
Right.
So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what that defensive backfield looks like when they roll it out first game versus Florida State, because they will have a ton of new names, a ton of new faces, and guys that may not be or have had the projection to play over the past couple of years. You step into a school like LSU right now with a ton of playing time available. We'll talk to Sammy Spiegs about it coming up here in a couple of minutes and get his thoughts on what the LSU defensive backfield can look like coming up here in the 2023 football season, 2022-2023 football season. And some other news about LSU. Coy Moore has announced that he is transferring to Auburn. Moore was a player out of Rummel High School out of New Orleans, entered the portal last October after the Florida game. Only 5 receptions for under 75 yards last year. He did have 22 catches for 175 yards during his freshman season back in 2020. But Coy Moore moving on to the Plains of Auburn as he announced his transfer over the weekend.
Why do you think that? I feel like he was in the portal for a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know if any reason why it took him so long, or he just exploring his options?
I guess so. I mean, I guess he was maybe waiting until after spring but I mean, a lot of schools are like in their all-season workouts now. I mean, a lot of people have reported. A lot of people are kind of like in the daily workouts now. So I don't know. No, I don't have a good answer on why he would wait until this time. Maybe he had some things academically he had to get.
That's what I would figure. Is that anybody that's probably hitting the portal right now is probably having to do some grind in the summer, a little summer grind.
A little summer cleanup.
Yeah, get those 6 hours in.
So what's that?
Wasn't in school, like
Oh.
while he was in the portal. Like he wasn't like taking classes at LSU. I mean, he was training, but
It's weird.
Auburn offered him like pretty much as soon as he went in the portal. I don't know why he waited so long to commit, but he's been offered ever since he transferred in the middle of the season.
And a lot of this news is, I mean, it could be late coming out. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Colby Richardson deal has been done it's been done for a minute. Like, it's been done for over a week. So, maybe the Coy Moore stuff popped at a different time, and we're just learning about it now. Some other news around LSU football yesterday. Former LSU All-American linebacker Brady James, one of 80 players from the FBS division who has been selected to appear on the 2023 ballot for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. That was announced by the foundation on Monday. James, who in 2001 helped lead LSU to the SEC championship, that was the first for the Tigers since the mid-'80s, was a 4th-round selection of the Dallas Cowboys back in 2003, spent a decade in the NFL, played in under 160 games. Right now, LSU has 10 players and 5 coaches in the College Football Hall of Fame. The last to go in was Kevin Falk, who was in the college football class last December. Glenn Dorsey went in before him. James was a tackling machine at LSU. James was one of those guys that if he got his hands on you, you were going to the ground. He was an enormous recruit out of West Monroe, and a huge recruit out of West Monroe. In that class of 1999 that featured guys like Dominic Davis, guys like LeBrandon Toefield, guys like Josh Reed, Brady James, Trev Falk were the 2 headliners in that class. 2 Louisiana natives, both playing the same position James, of course, came out of yes, that's right. He came out of Wassman, but he transferred to West Monroe his senior season. He was a stud for Wassman. I don't even know if
Wonder if that was legal.
I don't even know if he graduated. I think that the story goes that he actually check me on this. People in North Louisiana that are familiar with West Monroe football, but I believe he actually graduated from Wassman. Like that he played football like in the fall at West Monroe and then like went back to Wassman.
Wow.
Or maybe never even left Wassman. I mean, back in the day in 1999, I mean, this is the Don Schall's days of West Monroe where, I mean, if you could play, you were a rebel. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't any football players that were above the 318 line in Alexandria that if you could play, you weren't going to West Monroe. I mean, that was when they would get off the bus and they would have 180 kids. I mean, like it looked like the student body was getting off the bus. I mean, it was
like
just
Dallas Carter.
It was players for days. I mean, it looked like Alabama with Bear Bryant, where they were handing out like 50 scholarships a year. You know, but I mean, check me on that. I believe that Brady James actually graduated high school from Wassman High School, which was just like right over the river up there in West Monroe. But his senior season at West Monroe, he was the most intimidating football player I have ever seen in pads.
I mean,
he was our age.
Look at him in the LSU uniform.
I mean, in LSU, you know, I mean, he was a 4-year starter. He started as a true freshman and played all the way through. He was like the captain on that 2002 Cotton Bowl team that Saban took to Dallas that played Roy Williams in Texas. He was kind of the face of that team. Which really had a great opportunity to play for an SEC championship, but Matt Jones in Arkansas beat him on a Hail Mary in the last game of the season that kept him out of Atlanta. But Brady James was fantastic at LSU. He played through some trying times, but he also played in the transition from Jerry DiNardo to Nick Saban, and Saban, made him the absolute captain and voice of those early defenses that him and Muschamp were running at LSU. Trev Falk was another big piece of that. And still to this day, I believe Falk will tell you his biggest regret in his football life was not coming back for his senior season to play alongside Brady James with, those guys playing their freshman, sophomore, and junior season together, and then Trev leaving and going to the league, outside of the advice from Nick Saban, who told him, you need to come back. And I'm not telling you to come back to better the foot. I'm telling you need to come back for yourself because they need to see you do it for another year, and then you'll get drafted. And I believe he was either undrafted or drafted late by the St. Louis Rams, was Trev Falk, and could never catch on, and is now the head coach over at Lafayette Christian and doing a tremendous job in coaching high school. I mean, he is one of the state's best high school coaches. But when him and Trev Falk, when him and Brady James were playing the middle at LSU, coach, they could do it all. Trev could run. Brady could tackle. Brady was physical. Trev was athletic. They could cover sideline to sideline, and if they got their hands on you, you were going to the ground, and they were coming to light you up too. Trev Falk would light you up.
God, this is so early 2000s football. Like the size of these guys and the size of the
shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brady James is probably one of my first like football memories of like whenever you were really watching LSU football, just because you saw him in the middle, like, whoa. That's what a middle linebacker is supposed to look like.
The three linebackers on that team for a 4-year period, Trev Falk, Brady James, and Jeremy Lawrence, to me, is as good of a 3 linebacker set that as LSU has ever had. Jeremy Lawrence is the forgotten guy on that list, but Jeremy Lawrence was a 4-year starter at LSU at linebacker, played for Saban, went on, I think, to have a few good seasons in the league, but Lawrence was one of those dudes where he was first off the bus, and like that cat looked like the dude that you did not want to mess with. Like that was the dude in the locker room amongst a bunch of dogs that even the dogs were like, we don't mess with Jeremy Lawrence, bro. We ain't messing with that dude. That cat's just different. And those 3 linebackers in that period of LSU football is as good as I can ever remember, as 3 of them. Like, I mean, I know Devin White's run through here, and and guys.
You had a point with Kevin Minter, Deion Jones, and
Quan. Yeah,
that was a good trio.
But Quan couldn't stay healthy.
True.
If Quan would have been able to stay on the field, I mean, the day Quan broke his foot in Gainesville, that's the day Kevin Mentor had 20 tackles. I mean, they were set to like win the game by themselves.
He recovered a fumble.
He almost scooped and scored it.
Yeah.
He almost scooped and scored it. But yeah, I agree. But Jeremy Lawrence, Trev Falk, Brady James, in my opinion, as three as good of high school players that I can ever remember, man. Donnie T said Lawrence, Faraday High School. He was a menace at Faraday. I remember watching him play at Faraday when he was, I believe, a junior. And I really do think he had 30 tackles. He had like 3 touchdowns running the ball, like returned a punt, blocked a punt. I mean, he was making the popcorn and drove the bus home. He did everything for Faraday. And he was one of those dudes, man.
Wait, were they all in the same recruiting class?
I think Jeremy Lawrence was a year early.
Okay, because I would say if you had all 3 starting freshmen, like
I
if all 3 came in, all 3 were freshmen playing.
Lawrence played 2 years for DiNardo, 2 years for Saban.
Okay.
And then I believe Brady James and Trev Falk played 1 for DiNardo, 3 for Saban, or Falk played 2 for Saban. But
and that's when people didn't leave early. Like when
yes,
Trev Falk declared, it was so bizarre.
So surprising. It was so surprising when he left. I mean, it was just because they were gonna be
so good.
They were gonna be so good.
How did the players announce when they were leaving back in the day? Like a newspaper article?
Yeah.
Send an email.
News. Jacques.
Yeah.
Jacques was outside.
Break a story.
Jacques was outside stalking them, harassing them. You know what I mean? Like just, but like I mean that's where you would get it. I mean you would get like the news camera like walking to the car with Saban, like asking him, has Trev Falk made a decision yet? You know what I mean? Like it was that type of coverage back then.
You know what was huge back then was the ESPN ticker. That's where you broke news.
Yeah.
That was the original Twitter.
Everything.
Yeah.
You would see like breaking flash. You're like, oh God, what's he gonna say? Because that's how I remember. I think it was Ali Broussard when he tore his ACL in the spring. That's what I remember it going across the ticker, and I was like, oh no.
Ancestral Modern Man asks inside of the chat.
I can't wait to hear this.
Is Trev Falk the true 7 OG? I'll back you up one more linebacker and give you the name James Gilliard. To me, is the first number 7 that I ever remember at LSU. Look him up. You want to talk about an all-uni team, like an get off the bus guy. Then could play, and these were during the times where LSU was dog shit. Like LSU was terrible, right? Like I mean, like so you had that one player.
Right.
That you were like, at least we got Gilliard,
yeah, but
bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
he can win you a game.
Absolutely. And Gilliard was a original number 7. Or I guess you could go back to Rondell Mealy.
That's the first one I remember is Trev Falk.
I mean, I guess it's hard to go against Burt Jones.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Burt Jones is probably the true original number 7. But that number has been littered with play. I mean, I remember Adrian Mays covering kicks on the 2003 team, and he was as freaky of looking of a number 7 as you could draw up. I mean, his arms, he could scratch his ankles standing straight up. Like, I mean, like he had the longest arms coming out of a football uniform that looked like, I mean, a UFC fighter. And he would run down on punt and kickoff team, bro, and just destroy cats. There he is, Sammy Spiegs. Beautiful. We will be back with Sammy Spiegelman talking recruiting next. Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Remember, Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Get in touch with them for any of your projects. It doesn't matter the size, the scope, whether it's industrial, residential, municipality. You can get in touch with Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. They can help you out. Online, CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com. Get in touch with them. Next, we're talking recruiting with Sam Spiegelman of On 3. Next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Yep, you hear me? Yeah, I hear you.
Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out, southerneyecenters.com, and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show live on this Tuesday. Michael John inside of the chat app. Jordy, those teams were not dog shit. They were poorly coached but had plenty of talent. If properly coached, no 90s teams would have less than 8 wins. You're probably right, Michael. That is fair. That was probably a bad assessment of those teams because they were not. The rosters were fantastic. They just had dog shit coaching. I mean, they really did. I mean, that was some of the rosters that went and beat like Alabama the day that the headline said, the day pigs flew in Tuscaloosa were those teams that would win over and beat those teams. All right, Sam Spiegelman covers recruiting for On3, and On3 is becoming a monster on the scene of covering recruiting. If you have not learned about On3, you need to get on to them. On3.com is the website, and we've talked to a lot of their guys, including Billy Embody, who has stopped by, and Sam Spiegelman, who we talked to a couple of weeks back, who was on a Texas 7-on-7 field while we were talking to him, just to give you an idea of the commitment that these guys have put into the resources of covering recruiting. And he's back with us here now on this Tuesday morning. Sammy Spiegs, good morning, brother. How are you?
What's going on, Jordy? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's good to have you back. Sammy, what was the first year that you started covering recruiting? I don't mean to age.
Leonard's year.
It was Leonard's year.
Leonard's year with Speedy and diving in. That was a wake up call. This was a lot harder than you thought.
Do you remember like Brady James and Trev Falk and those guys coming up? We were talking about Brady James. He's on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame next year. One of 80 players, and I just for our guy. I mean, for my age, I remember I'm the same age as Brady James, and I remember the stature of recruit that he was. And that was my first kind of like remembering of like, wow, this stuff is enormous. Like, I mean, just how many schools would be on the West Monroe fence watching him play. Do you remember those days? And I know you weren't covering recruiting, but just kind of how much the game has changed since then.
Well, just to follow what you said, is I remember seeing Brady James on TV and then obviously meeting him at LSU. And then I know you mentioned Trev Falk. These were giants. These are giant men. It's almost like they're like titans that, from the Coliseum back, and they played linebacker for LSU. But it was a different game back then. Nowadays, recruiting is taking such different legs. And if you talk to Trevor Falk, I mean, having going through it with Jordan Allen and Sage and all the kids over at LCA, you can tell you it's a whole different animal nowadays. The way that they were recruited back in the day to 2022.
Let's start with an LCA defensive back or an athlete that looks like he is getting a lot of love right now on the circuit is Juwan Johnson. What do you know about him? Where does LSU stand? And a little bit more on Trev on how he has really opened the door, it feels like, to a small Lafayette school and made it a feeding ground for big-time college football teams.
Yeah, so Juwan has been LCA's starting quarterback. He's the engineer of that offense. Of course, he's a smaller kid. He's about 5'11" right now, going into his junior season at LCA. His recruitment wasn't taken off at quarterback. He's not, he's a fantastic athlete that, he might be the best athlete on LCA, which is why he plays quarterback for him. But this spring, coaches, said, if you want to get recruited, why don't you give athlete a try, play some receiver, play some DB. And he started working with a DB trainer in the Baton Rouge area, and he went up to Nebraska, clocked a 4.5 240, landed an offer from an old friend, Mickey Joseph. And then watching him work out for Coach Steeples on Sunday, man, looks like he's been playing DB a lot longer than the last couple of weeks. He's real natural. He's real explosive. He accelerates out of his breaks pretty seamlessly, and he really has no idea what he's doing yet. He doesn't know the ins and outs of playing DB. He's just a fantastic athlete that's quickly taken to the position. Nebraska offered, and then Mississippi State offered, and within 24 hours, Coach Steeples called and got an offer to Johnson. And, I already have an on-3 recruiting prediction machine pick in for him, given LSU's success recruiting LCA. And you talked about it with Trev Falk. He's given these kids such an opportunity, such a platform. He's put together a little old school that just had a lot of talent and was competing for championships, and now it's almost a powerhouse in the Acadiana area. You can't go through that area without stopping at St. Thomas More and Acadiana and LCA. If you're a college coach or you're someone like myself who's going to look for the top talent, Trev has given an opportunity for these kids to not only get recruited but compete for championships. If you know Trev like I do, and he develops these kids into men, and he's doing a phenomenal job out there. He's an ambassador for LSU, for the NFL, and then for high school football in Louisiana. He's doing a fantastic job at LCA.
Sammy, we talked about this time of the recruiting calendar, how influential it is to building college football rosters, team rosters. You were at LSU on Sunday with the Skills Challenge and the Skills Camp. What does this mean to a new staff like Brian Kelly to be able to put their eyeballs and be able to coach these guys for 24 hours like they did over the weekend?
It's a huge opportunity. You're exactly right. And in years past, under Les, under Ed, LSU would accrue 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 commitments over the summertime at camps, because you're finally getting a look at seeing these guys up close, getting to see what they look like from a size standpoint, getting to see what their interests are, which teams are really in it for them. If they're visiting, they obviously have some level of interest that you have to detect. Probably the biggest takeaway from being around LSU on Sunday, and obviously it's a whole different staff, is they have a bunch of assistants on this staff that are probably future head coaches, and a lot of them are former head coaches. But the way Frank Wilson and Cortez Hankton ran camp, and then Brian Kelly came down toward the back end, and kind of reminded me, it's been a while because we've had Ed for the last couple of years at LSU, but Les Miles wasn't around camp for the entire time and kind of come down and be this big figure at the end of camp. And Brian Kelly kind of did the same exact thing. But what stands out is Frank Wilson, Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, and the relationships that they have in the state. The emergence of Kerry Cooks and Robert Steeples, who are replacing Corey Raymond, for goodness sake. That's a lofty task. But Coach Steeples is a former high school coach with NFL experience, and he's making a big dent for LSU in recruiting corners. And Kerry Cooks has been on a tear recruiting safeties. I think what you're seeing in this staff is all the strengths of it so far. We have to learn about the coordinators, of course, but from an assistant coach's staff, that Brian Kelly put together. I think he hit a home run with the relationships that these guys have with the high school coaches in the state and the kids in the state. Frank coming over from McNeese, Joe coming over from Louisiana Tech, and Coach Hankton coming over from Georgia, who just won a national championship. It's got a lot of appeal to this staff. There's a lot of new staffs around the country, and LSU has arguably one of the best.
Eli Holstein has made a tremendous jump over the last couple of months in his recruitment. He pledged to Alabama a couple of weeks ago. Arch just finished up his official in Athens over the weekend, and I believe will be in Austin coming up here officially on a visit this weekend. What have you heard on the latest on the Louisiana quarterbacks, whether it's Holstein's commitment to Alabama? Why did he pop at this point and what did that mean for Arch's recruitment towards Alabama, and what's the latest on Arch?
Yeah, to start with Holstein, he had been leaning Alabama. I think we spoke about it last time I was on the show, but he's been visiting Alabama 3 times in a 6-week stretch. Basically fell in love with the program and really meshed with Bill O'Brien. And as soon as spring football was done at Zachary, he made it official, committed to Alabama. He's going to head to Tuscaloosa this weekend, but first he's going to throw with Zachary at the LSU 7-on-7 tournament on Friday. And then he'll take his OV to Alabama, and he'll be joined by Arch Manning. Arch is still set to OV Alabama this weekend, and then he'll hit Texas for his 3rd OV next weekend. Alabama remains resolute to recruit both these Louisiana quarterbacks. That's just Nick Saban trying to replenish the depth chart over in Tuscaloosa. And obviously it's a long shot that you're going to get Eli Holstein and Arch Manning, 2 of the best quarterbacks from the same state. But if anyone can do it, I wouldn't look past Alabama. And then Ricky Collins will also be on campus Friday. Obviously committed to Purdue, is coming off an OV to Purdue. And he's going to leave from Baton Rouge to go to Florida State on an OV with guys like Shelton Sampson from Baton Rouge Catholic. Going into this summer, it is a wild quarterback puzzle for not only the national landscape, but if you're trying to figure out which direction LSU is going to go in, that's a bit of a mystery as well. Arch, even though he's not officially narrowed things down, he's going to prepare for his 2nd OV to Alabama. I think the OV to Georgia really opened his eyes. It's the first time I've seen him take pictures and it go public like this.
Yeah.
But you really need to credit Todd Monken and Kirby Smart for the direction that they've recruited him in a very business-like approach, from what I understand. Which, if you're the Mannings, that's exactly what they're seeking. I imagine Alabama will roll out the red carpet as well. But in terms of LSU getting Arch on campus, this is a major deal. He hasn't been on campus like this in 4 years, when he did the same exact thing representing Newman in 7-on-7. At the time, Cooper and his wife Ellen and Archie sat with Ensminger and Ed Orgeron and Mickey Joseph, and it's a whole. It might not even. I think Ensminger was there.
I think Joe Brady sat. I think Joe Brady
might have been
sat
the
with
OC
him
at that point. Man, it was a while ago.
Yeah,
but it's a big opportunity for LSU to try to stay afloat with Manning. But right now they have Jaden Rashada on campus for his OV. They're still very much in the thick of it for Dante Moore as his recruitment continues. But Eli Holstein, Ricky Collins, and Arch Manning on campus is something to pay attention to, as well as when you look at the Rashada and Dante Moore aspects.
Who handles the quarterback recruiting primarily for LSU? I know that Joe Sloan does a tremendous job in relationship building, but is that where Brian Kelly enters recruiting?
It's Brian Kelly, and it's also Denbrock. And Denbrock has been instrumental in, obviously, Eli Manning committed to Alabama, but LSU probably finished as the number 2 team for Eli before that decision. And that's because of all the ground that Denbrock made up in the last couple of weeks of getting to know him. And, Joe Sloan is certainly leading the charge. He's a young guy with a bunch of energy and fantastic ties to the state of Louisiana. And you see him obviously recruiting Rashada and more. He's got connections all over the country at this point. But Denbrock and Kelly are in this as well. And when it comes to quarterbacks, you can't get much bigger than the OC and the head coach, of course.
Sam Spiegelman joining us here talking recruiting. You mentioned that Kerry Cooks was going after safeties, and one of the top safety in the country is out of Westgate and Derek Williams. Where is LSU in his recruitment, and who is heading that up?
Yeah, I would say LSU was early on probably the favorite for Derek. He was recruited by Corey Raymond, who is not only, one of the more esteemed DB coaches in the country, but he's from that part of Louisiana and Acadiana. So LSU is off to a hot start, but, Derek Williams is going to take his time, and he's one of the better players that they've ever seen at Westgate, and he's got the offer sheet and the options to explore. He's visited Alabama quite a bit, and he's expected to be back at Alabama this weekend. He's expected to visit LSU at some point. He's taking an OV to Texas. Michigan is pushing for an OV. Miami is in the mix for an OV. Oklahoma has gotten in the mix here. A&M has gotten in the mix here. Michigan is hanging around. I have a pick in for Alabama. It's not a super confident, high-level pick, but I think at the moment Alabama is probably the favorite for Derek Williams. But there's a long way to go in this recruitment. If you remember, Kayshawn didn't sign early. He took his time. And I think Derek Williams will do a similar blueprint with all the options. And, Westgate obviously expects to compete for a championship again this year, so he's going to take his time with his OVs. He's going to take Texas this summer. He may head to Michigan. He may head to Miami for OVs. But LSU has some power here. They have potential. I think the biggest thing is kind of, I wouldn't say repairing a relationship. It's more of getting to know these new coaches as well as he did with Corey Raymond. Part of the reason why Alabama's in a good spot is Pete Golding is one of the best recruiters in the country, and he's been living in Westgate this spring. And he's got in, Danny Lewis on campus, obviously his new freshman tight end from Westgate, and he's got in Derek Williams to follow a lot of those visits. LSU just kind of has to match that and get him on campus, which will be easy because they're recruiting a ton of their guys this year. They got a great stock of underclassmen as well. And I think LSU certainly has the ability toward the back end of spring. Both Frank Wilson and Joe Sloan was at Westgate. Terry Cook was at Westgate. They are not forgetting about Derek Williams. They certainly have a very high opinion of him. They had a couple of out-of-state commitments from safeties and Ryan Yates from Denton Guyer. They're still in the mix heavily with Kylan Jackson, but they're not going to slow down on Derek Williams, but I think they have some ground to make up first.
Jeffrey wants to know from Sam Spiegelman, Sammy, what's the latest on Manning High School linebacker Tackett Curtis?
Yeah, Tackett is coming off his official visit to Wisconsin. He's going to head to USC and Ohio State the rest of the month. And according to Tackett, he's going to take things a little bit slower from that point on. Obviously, Manny is going to do the same thing. They're going to gear up for a title run, and Tackett's going to be committed before they do that. Obviously, I feel like he's asking because Tackett made the visit to LSU last month. That was his first visit in a long time, and that's not by accident. This new staff has come on pretty quickly, though, this spring with Tackett and trying to reignite the interest. I know that when Ed was there, they had interest in LSU. I think they thought that Brian Kelly would have picked it up a little bit quicker because Tackett is one of the best in the country, and he's not too far away from LSU. But I think LSU has an opportunity. I think they're going to need to get him on campus, possibly see if he'll take another summer official. He's left July open for other opportunities should they pop up, and I think LSU is kind of that team that has that potential. I really think it comes down to USC or Ohio State, but I can't rule LSU out. They have the opportunity to make a push, but right now he's definitely leaning out of state.
The update, the latest on Shelton Sampson. You mentioned he'll be at Florida State this weekend. Where's his recruitment stand?
I actually upped my confidence level in LSU for Shelton over the weekend. He was quietly back at LSU this weekend. He didn't camp. There's absolutely no reason for him to ever have to camp at a school again until he's getting ready for the NFL Combine in a few years. From what I understand, he's feeling more and more comfortable at LSU. Jordy, if you remember Little Sting, he's more of an introverted personality.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need all the glitz and glamour and the attention. He just kind of wants to feel comfortable. And I think that LSU is moving in the right direction with that, not only with this new coaching staff, but he's getting comfortable with some of the guys on the roster already, including his former teammate Emory Jones from Catholic. He visited with Kylan Jackson quietly over the weekend, and he'll be back, I believe, Friday for the 7-on-7 tournament with Catholic, and he'll head to Florida State and reunite with his old head coach Gabe Fertitta. And listen, Florida State is in it, Alabama is in it, A&M is in it. He's going to visit Michigan. He's going to visit Oregon. But all along, LSU has been the team to beat. They just needed to stay afloat in this. And I think that from talking to people in and around the program, they're making him feel more comfortable. I feel good. I don't think a decision is anywhere close. He's going to explore all these options. He's going to take all of his visits, and he's going to probably repeat as a state champion or at least come pretty close to it. Yeah. And then once that's done, he'll take his OV to LSU, maybe another visit, and I think LSU's in a good spot from there.
Sammy, what kind of dog is that behind you? It looks like it should be on the cover of a Death Row album.
Well, I don't know which one was behind me.
Was it a
before.
Doberman?
I got two of them that keep rotating around me. I just try to make sure they don't do anything ridiculous behind me on camera.
Was it a Doberman?
I got two pits, a black pit and a gold pit.
Wow.
When's the album coming out?
Seriously.
Man, if I can ever get him to stay still for a picture for the album.
Sammy, one thing before we get you out of here. The balance of recruiting the state of Louisiana to the national. You mentioned that Jaden Rashada is in town, quarterback out of Pennsylvania. What is the balance that you see Kelly taking his approach with recruiting the state compared to reaching out beyond the border?
Yeah, that's a great question, and honestly, I don't think we have a full grasp just yet. Obviously, we'll see how the rest of this 2022 class plays out, 2023 class, geez. with guys like Frank Wilson, there's going to be a heavy influence on the state. And in 2023, there's a lot of good pieces. LSU has half of them committed at this point, and they're still going after a lot of the good pieces in state. But listen, it's a quarterback state in 2023. But if they don't get one of these top 3 guys, they're going to go out of state to either California or Michigan. Like that, that's very atypical. That's Brian Kelly and really also Brian Polian, who has national ties as, LSU's recruiting coordinator. I think when the situation arises to get a really good player from the state of Georgia or Florida or California, they're going to do that. But as long as Frank Wilson is the associate head coach and Joe Sloan is on that staff and Coach Hankton's on that staff, they're going to recruit the state of Louisiana first, and the same as Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, and they're going to recruit the surrounding territories. That obviously Houston and Dallas are major LSU alumni bases, and they've been kind to LSU in the past. The same with Mississippi and the Gulf Coast. But, LSU is always going to recruit Louisiana first. But I think Brian Kelly does bring a national flair. And talking to people who know a lot more than I do, he's using that reputation from Notre Dame and the national reputation that he has as a head coach, and he's going to use it at LSU. And there's no reason why he shouldn't, So I think we'll see how it balances out toward the end of this class. I would say, considering if you look at the transfer portal, the guys like Joe Fuchsia and Greg Brooks, those are Louisiana guys. Those are New Orleans kids. Yeah. So they're taking the Louisiana aspect into effect, and with Frank Wilson leading the charge, that's guaranteed. But there will be some national appeal, and we're going to see that this year, whether it's with quarterback or some of these other positions of note.
Last one, Sammy. Jay Chillen asks inside of the chat, what's going on with Jaden Ausberry?
Jaden is coming off his OV to Auburn. That's a little bit too tough for this time of the morning, but he's going to head to Notre Dame and Michigan for OVs this month. I think he's going to, kind of like Shelton, he's going to, U-High is going to make a run at a state championship, and Jaden is going to follow the same blueprint as his brother Austin. He's going to, go for a state championship and then maybe take 1 or 2 OVs at the end. People close to him think it'll come down to LSU and Alabama, maybe LSU and A&M. I'll say this. But before Austin signed with Auburn last year, I would have never thought that the Ausberrys were going to sign with LSU, and that was under the Ed Orgeron, staff. Not a knock on them; it just wasn't a match. With Frank Wilson, with Brian Kelly, with a lot of these with Coach House, who has taken a huge role in recruiting Jaden in particular. I think it's going to be LSU or Alabama in the end. Obviously Auburn has the family tie, but I just don't see it. I don't see Jaden going to Auburn at this point. They have a lot of ground to make up. I think ultimately he ends up at LSU or Alabama, and he's far from a decision, but those guys have more staying power now than they did under the previous regime.
Sam Spiegelman is a must-follow in the recruiting world if you're looking for the up-to-date information on what's going on with not only the Louisiana guys, but guys all over the country. Follow him on Twitter at Sam Spiegs. Read the information at On3 Recruiting. If you have not learned about On3 Recruiting, you've got to get over and check out the website, on3.com. Sammy, will be checking it again soon, man. We will see you out at LSU this summer. Thank you, man.
Yep, thanks for having me, guys. Be good.
You got it. There is
backdrop
there is
for the
Spiegelman.
video call.
Great backdrop and a couple of pits running around. You got the muscle back there with him. Remember, Daily, we were brought to you by our friends over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, #1 in a #2 business, specializing in all works of plumbing. That's industrial, commercial, and residential. They've got experienced carpenters and plumbers on staff. So if you're looking for an industrial or a residential remodel, they can help you with that today. They cover Baton Rouge every day. They're located over in Plaquemine, Louisiana, but they got 2 trucks in East Baton Rouge Parish every single day. Call them 225-776-2431. That's the phone number. No social media, no website. Only way to call them is get in touch with Jude by dialing 225-776-2431. They cover Baton Rouge, as we said. They got 2 trucks over here every single day. Get in touch with Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Mention Jordy Culotta Show, the Jordy Culotta Show, and you'll receive 15% off of the bottom line. No specific services. You don't have to call in for a specific service to say the Jordy Culotta. Whatever your need is from Barker Brothers, just mention Jordy Culotta Show and you'll save 15% over there at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. #1 in the #2 business, helping us out every day here with their support of the show. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, 225-776-2431. We'll be back and close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you daily by Morales Roll-Offs. Morales Roll-Offs provides dumpster rentals for residential and commercial needs in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. Morales has roll-off dumpsters ranging from 10 yards to 40 yards to accommodate all of your disposal needs. Search online, moralesrolloffs.com.
Do you have questions about your finances? Are you looking for recommendations from a skilled financial advisor? Get in touch with our friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones. You can find him easily by logging online and shooting him an email at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. That is daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Whether it is help with your 401k or just fiscal advice heading into the new season, get in touch with Daniel today. Best way to do it? Email him, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. He's our experienced financial advisor. Let him be yours, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. I appreciate you being out here on this Tuesday morning. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. Jeffrey says, I've been out of the loop for a while. Is Lloyd no longer running the soundboard? And who are the new faces at the table?
Hey.
Lloyd is no longer the producer of this show. Lloyd is kind of transitioning into a co-host, associate producer of this show.
Yes.
And then the new faces are Jamil and Bree, two of the newest members of the team who are gossiping back there.
Yeah.
Not paying any attention to what's going on.
Working very hard.
Jamil is the social media director for Rose Show, where my dog's at, and Bree is doing some video work with us in our video department over there. Is
Wild time
FM digital media experiencing tremendous growth here going into the summer months.
Wild time to crack a Coke at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And a bold move.
It's giving Joe vibes.
Yeah. Oh, Joe threw up
Joe
a fist
yesterday,
fillet. It's gone. Did you hear it?
A classic Joe
Classic
entrance.
Joe.
Did you hear the story, though?
Joe Rodriguez, our IT director, is he enters a room a lot like Kramer did on Seinfeld.
That's perfect.
Where he just kind of shuffles in and slams the door behind him, and you wonder just kind of like, whoa,
Where are you coming
where,
from?
what
Are you
planet
Yes.
are you coming from? What stratosphere are you coming
Always
from?
sweaty.
Always sweating, always bug-eyed, always kind of like on the move, always running. Came in yesterday just with a
Pale sweat.
sweat-soaked white T-shirt.
Looked like Lloyd that day.
Oh, yeah.
Did.
A little bit worse.
A little bit worse.
Just funneling a Coca-Cola. I couldn't abbreviate Coke there because it has strong Coke vibes.
Evan McVay.
But Joey was great. We couldn't live life without him over here, man. He is our IT director and gets us set up. He takes care of all of our remotes and all of our broadcasts that happen off premises here, and he's a tremendous part of the team. And that's the cool part of it's one of the cool parts of starting a company and bringing people together is the personalities, man. I tell people all the time, the part that I've had to get used to the most in my position is the managing of the personalities, really. I mean, you become almost like a coach, a manager. I mean, this place is, it's I relate it to a locker room because that's where I grew up. I know that locker room is probably not the HR term you want to use as far as a small business going, trying to make it. But I mean, it really is a collected, personalities into a room that you try and find the strengths and you try to limit the weaknesses, or you try to, improve on the weaknesses and shine the strengths. So we do have a lot of really cool people under one roof,
Good
pulling
personalities.
in the same direction, and hopefully some cool stuff is going to come out of it, whether it is the team of Where My Dog's At with Rohan and his show on Thursday nights coming back at you at 6 to 8 o'clock, or Mike Dupp's team that is now moved permanently to the 6 to 8 time slot on Monday and Wednesdays, and of course still with you at 4:30 on Friday for Uncle Earl's off location for their remote there. Baseball season over, so these are kind of the summer months, bro.
These are the days.
These are the
Dog
summer
days of
months.
summer.
But it was fun to get that little
Until-
6 to 8 vibe yesterday. You can see what it kind of did in conjunction with Caesars with the mic'd up thing, that they want us to be able to do like a little bit of tie the gambling thing in, be able to watch games at the same time, give you some information that way. So good first show, I would say. Disappointing result, but it was fun. But yes, this is when you start scouring the internet for stories that may not be too LSU related, but something that is, at least it's in the news, like Tom Brady.
I was about to say like Tom Brady's.
The money's not the only thing that's long.
Tom
No.
Brady's 12.
Now you get where TB12 really comes from.
Might be TB14.
Nobody is surprised in this room that Tom Brady is hung like a horse, right? I mean, and really, it's our fault because the pictures have been out for a while now.
What-
Like I didn't need the very staged
Of course.
bathroom entrance by Giselle, catching Tom Brady just
Fresh out the-
fawn over himself in the mirror as he is. I don't know if he's staring at his face or he's standing at his
I
schlong
think he stared at his
because
crotch.
I mean, the man is packing heat.
Poor Giselle.
Which is our
He's gonna
fault.
split her in half.
Really, I was mad at myself for doubting this. I can't believe that I was even surprised by the story. And I put a picture which I think really kind of illustrates it more than the bathroom scene did yesterday. There's a picture of him on a pro-am golf.
You may be getting fooled by the
You think
internet.
that I'm getting?
I think that's the golf ball in the tight pocket because he's on the golf course.
Lloyd,
so
I don't know, man.
That's what I think that one is. but
I don't know, Lloyd.
The way he fills out
Lloyd, I
I'm
have
telling
no
you.
way, dude. Pull up the picture of Brady. No, I'm not talking about for your own enjoyment. I'm talking about bringing it up for the public here. If you just go to the Twitter account of Brady,
Tom Brady's Twitter?
if you go to Tom Brady's Twitter, where this is all happening, right? Where this is happening, and Giselle, what happens here is they're trying to promote Brady underwear. Brady's got a new clothing line. He is becoming the new Michael Jordan of athletes, where you're not just going to watch him play football. You're going to wear his clothes. You're gonna go on his diet with the TB12 stuff. I mean, Brady is now a walking billboard. He is a brand that is as strong as North America can provide you right now, and he is pushing his clothing line in your face.
In your face.
I mean, like every time he looks up, he is. I mean, putting a new piece of clothing line, whether it is a golf polo, a shirt, pants, socks, in your face. And yesterday he was modeling the underwear. And Giselle walks into the bathroom, and it's kind of like they're trying to the natural approach, like they want to like catch him in the organic moments, but they're obviously staged. And Brady is standing in these crew underwear, which kind of gives you a little peek of his package when he turns and looks towards the camera. He then kind of covers it up. I mean, you can kind of, like, all right, Tommy, all right.
Right.
Tommy,
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
we get it, Tommy.
Look at that thing.
I mean, like, Jesus, you want me to stir your drink for you?
He looks
You
like
know what I
White
mean?
Goodman whenever
so
he
if you
pumps
go,
up his
so
crotch.
Stewie, if you come out of here and go to the comments on this, there is a comment that's not that far down, which I think Brady's side profile, his legs are more
He looks
impressive
great.
than
I
his.
mean, he does look good.
He does.
And none
But
of us-
if you scroll down a couple of the comments, there is somebody on Twitter who says, "That's my quarterback," or "That's been my quarterback." And there is a picture of him at a golf pro-am standing next to someone where they are catching the wind on the golf course of a tee box, which is very easy to do. We've all been on golf courses, very open air. Golf pants are very loose fitting. And he's standing up on a tee box where he is catching some downwind, and it is giving you the perfect formation
Of a schlong.
of his schlong. And my man is hung like Secretariat. Like he looks like a thoroughbred rounding the corner coming down the stretch as he is like hugged up on this
Still picture, but I think that's the golf ball in the pocket. I'm
No
telling
way,
you.
bro.
I'm telling
No
but
way.
There's it doesn't. I didn't need to see that picture after I saw the video. The video does all the justice in the world. Like I said, it looks like in dodgeball when White Goodman pumps up his crotch before the girl walks in. That thing is inflated.
Barstool called it a howitzer.
Somebody else commented, how much for that specific pair?
But just, TB12, bro. It ain't all about the number, for sure.
Brady versus Honey Badger.
I'm still going Badger.
Me too.
I'm still going Badger. You had to remember, the Badgers pictures came out when he was like 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Still has room to grow.
Yeah, you still hit that 28 to 30-year-old adult growth.
Little gravity.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like Brady at 50 now, who knows? But I still got Badger.
How much do we have to see of Tom before we're like, well, aren't we doing the TB12? Or does it not TB12, it's he's on something else? Because if that's what it does, why would we not all do it?
Well, it's such a commitment, man.
But look how good he looks.
No doubt. But are you willing to give up
everything?
Everything.
Your life?
Much. Avocado tequila? You know what I mean? Even when I'm trying to get away from it, I can't get away from it. I get it that the return on it
seems to be
really good, but I don't think if you do the TB12 that you're quarterback in world championships and married to supermodels
and
hung like that.
An extra 8 inches.
You said if I committed to TB12, that I can at least get the dick, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jesus.
Look at this thing.
That's the golf ball.
Golf ball? Where?
Right.
That's the club with the golf ball, dude.
I don't know. It might be his dick.
It definitely is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Look at that confident pose, too, dude. What do you mean?
Look
That ain't no golf ball.
You don't even
Take the picture.
Yeah. Who are you again?
The girl's like, don't let the thing touch me.
Is that a tea in your pocket?
It touched me.
He probably pees on the course a lot. Don't have to go to the bathroom.
All right, we'll be back and close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you being here. Don't forget our friends over at Dead Soxy. Always can use the promo code Jordy, Jordy, to receive 15% off everything that's going over there. You can also custom design socks over at Dead Soxy. Find out for yourself, deadsoxy.com. Deadsoxy.com is where you can find them online.
Hey y'all, it's Mikey from Mic'd Up. Catch us live every Monday and Wednesday, 11 to 1. Talk gambling, talk sports, have a ton of guests in here, get a little perspective from the athlete side of it. We got Lloyd in the house, Jay Mitch is in here a lot of the time. It's a fun show, great show. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you don't like it, it's fine. Make fun of us, it's okay. Just get us out there, share us out there. We having fun, we want to share our fun with you. Like I said, Mic'd Up, brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Every Monday through Wednesday, 11 to 1. Catch us live on YouTube, baby. See y'all.
Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out. southerneyecenters.com and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway. Jamil and Bree playing Google Roulette back there to see who's going to Google Tyrann Mathieu picks.
You Google it. You Google it.
No, you do it. You do it. Let me
I'm
make this
interested.
browser private if you don't mind real quick.
When Tyrann Mathieu was 18 playing at LSU, I was like in elementary school.
Yeah.
So I
And
you were
didn't
safe.
even know
He
what
was a
that
grown
was.
man then too. Now it kind of brings a little like Brady and Matthew talking shit in the Super Bowl. Like, what were they really talking about?
Like my ticket's bigger than yours.
Mine's bigger.
It really was a pissing contest.
Yeah, we can pull them down right now, bro. Got 100 million people watching around the world. You want to just go pantless for the rest of the game?
for the Lombardi.
That's right.
We can end this thing right now.
Winner gets all. All right, appreciate you being out there and interacting with us today. We talked a lot about NFL and what's going on with Aaron Donald got paid.
Oh.
Aaron Donald just took the system, bro, and used it. How does the salary cap work? Because this cat's about to make $100 million over the next 3 years.
He didn't pick up any more years on his deal. They
No.
just gave him a raise because he was going to retire.
The Rams have reworked, and he just signed with Donda Sports. Like Kanye's up in the Rams front office, cutting this deal with the Rams. So the Rams, and you see it?
They Googled
I
it.
found yes.
Yes.
Check him out, blushing back there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, you got to be more. You got to be more
right.
specific.
Yeah. That tint of red you're wearing today, you're blushing right now, huh?
Even Tyrann Mathieu was in the studio.
Aaron Donald, the Rams have reworked Donald's deal to give him a $40 million raise over the next 3 years to his existing contract. ESPN's Adam Schefter had it first, making him the first non-quarterback ever to eclipse $30 million per season. The reworked deal brings the total value of Donald's contract to $95 million, with 62 of it guaranteed over the next 3 seasons. Donald has 12.5 sacks, or had 12.5 sacks last season before racking up 3.5 more in the playoffs run for Los Angeles, who capped it off with a Super Bowl championship in their own stadium last season. In 8 seasons, Donald has 98 sacks. In 6 of those seasons, he's finished with at least 10 sacks in the year, the second most by a primary interior defensive lineman since sacks became official back in 1982. He trails only John Randall, who was a first ballot Hall of Famer back on those Minnesota Vikings defenses back in the day. He's 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's been selected to the Pro Bowl each of his NFL seasons. He's been first-team All-Pro 7 times. And he is one of only 3 defensive players since 1970, which is when the merger happened, to earn a Pro Bowl selection in each of their first 8 seasons, alongside guys, Hall of Famers, Lawrence Taylor and Derek Thomas. Is that any good? That is great. He
Good
is
company.
To me, he is the best football player on the planet that is not a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's getting paid like it.
Would you take him first in an all-player draft? Who would you take first in an all-player draft?
Can he play any position I want?
Where would you put him?
Running back?
I would put him at running back on 14 on goal line situations.
Goal line every time.
Goal line situations, I would, and maybe even like short yardage. Just toss it to him.
Yeah.
Get running downhill, bro.
I might even throw him in the Wildcat sometimes.
Maybe.
Just
Why not?
Just to let him run right or left.
But if you had a all-draft selection of every players on the table, Burrow, Justin Herbert, young quarterbacks, young gunners.
Yeah, that's probably
Patrick
one of
Mahomes
those.
even.
Yeah.
Would Aaron Donald be your first selection? Can he wreck a game more than Joe Burrow can win a game?
I mean, I think you saw it in the Super
I was
Bowl.
about to say, I think you saw that in the
Yeah,
Super
but I mean,
Bowl.
like, even, Burrow's playing with an undermanned offensive line, right? Yeah. Like, if you gave Burrow this
think
year's
it matters
offensive
who's in
line
front
for
of
the
Aaron
Bengals,
Donald.
maybe not. You're right.
No.
You're right.
Did you see how he said he studies tape and how he breaks it down?
Whom?
Aaron Donald. He said he studies the tackle. Well, he studies the guard because mainly he's going against the guard. But he also studies the center because most of the time he gets a double team.
Right.
And then he studies the tackle because sometimes
Yeah,
he
he
might
gets
get a
triple
triple
team.
team. And he studies every little thing. He's I might watch a play 20 times and just watch his start or watch what he does with his hands or whatever. It's just
the knife
crazy.
workout alone.
Yes,
The knife
it's
workout
crazy
is
how
unbelievable.
he
The
breaks
knife
down
workout
film.
is scary.
Well, no
and-
wonder he wanted to retire. Like, if he's putting that much effort into...
He didn't want to retire. He just put pressure on.
just
He
wanted to
just
get
put
more money.
pressure on him, man. Kanye was like, take these courtside tickets. Go sit at the Eastern Conference Final with enough jewelry on to give to a third world country and let them know that you're okay with not playing football ever again. And let's see if we can't get them to jump before the weekend.
Pain.
I mean, like, you just found out about the news on Monday. That deal got struck last Friday when they saw him sitting courtside down in Miami saying, you know what? I don't even think I need to play football anymore. I mean,
Poor Sean McVay's trying to get married, and he's like, Aaron Donald wants to retire. It's like, I'm trying to give my life away.
give me my
over here.
$100 million over the next 3 years, for God's
Get
sakes.
the deal
Get that
done,
deal
Crocky.
done.
Wait, so this was Sean McVay's wedding you were talking about earlier? Odell crashed?
Yes.
Wow. He wasn't invited?
No, so Sean McVay was trying
Wow.
to decide in his Coke dream who he wanted to bring to his, like, what players to bring. He's like, the only way I could see, like, try to make it fair, not hurt any relationships, I just brought back last year's captains. So I thought that was the fairest way to do it. Some retired players came, and he goes, and who's the first mother bleeper I see? OBJ. He goes, Odell's talking to my mother. So he walks away, he's talking to his mom, and she's like, oh, I just love that man. He's always so happy. And he's easy on the eyes, too. And Sean's like, Mom, it is my day. Like, would you not do this right now? So Odell crashed the wedding. Sean McVay crashed the stage and got all hyped up, started singing some California Love. It was awesome. Seemed like a great time.
Was it Tupac singing there?
Yeah, it could have been.
Jeez. Aaron Donald make that happen?
And who's the Cardinals coach?
Cliff Kingsbury.
He was there.
Wow.
I mean, just an all good-looking
Damn.
squad. But Sean McVay was getting after it.
McVay's the top pick, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are you talking about, like coaches and looks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's on face
yeah.
team.
Right?
And he's jacked.
Yeah.
Who's the top pick in the NFL as far as good-looking coaches? We going
Jeff
McVay
Fisher.
or Kingsbury? Andy Reid?
I can tell you,
Andy
college
Reid.
college coach Tony Vitello.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
Told y'all.
They're Italian.
Tried to tell y'all last year about Tony V.
He's got his squad. They're oof.
Tony
Cooking.
Vitello
They're on that
is
line,
high.
coach. They're flicking off people.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a lot.
They're starting to melt a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's a lot. Feeling the
Starting to
pressure.
melt a little bit. They had
Take
to
it up
suspend
to-
one of their best players for the rest of the season, I saw.
Their catcher. A lot of reports coming out about it. Might have been a little.
Lil Juice.
But then they had to retract it, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think somebody blasted him on an ESPN broadcast.
He did, and then they had to retract it. The guy got suspended.
Speaking of ESPN, they have to do something about the producers on those games.
Did you?
Yesterday they put the like
Who?
The
they
Southern
were-
Miss LSU
Southern
game
Miss
was awful.
like they were putting players in the bullpen and they brought the
Oh, I
like
saw
template
that.
down and it was last name, first
I
name,
saw
0.
that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like,
I
it's
saw
like
that.
who's in there? Like
mean,
they're on the earpiece like, hey, we need a name up there.
dude, that guy had two hands around a sandwich, and he was like, "Oh, my bad."
Sorry.
But
Matt
yeah,
LaFleur from the Green Bay Packers.
Ah, good pick.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
pick.
Yes.
LaFleur pulls off the dry fit better than
He
anyone.
does.
And
Relaxed
he's
fit.
very
Yes.
hot.
He'll be on the Tom Brady. That's
Yes.
perfect fit for
Yeah,
him.
He feels like a TB12
Brady
guy.
Brady brand.
Yeah, he's got great teeth. Great teeth.
Like sucker for teeth.
Injury
He's
prone.
very hot.
Who is this? Matt LaFleur?
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur.
Tore his Achilles playing basketball 2 years ago, I think.
Wow.
So he's still trying to,
We're aligned.
impress if he could stay in shape through that. We're shooting in the right direction.
New teeth too, Matty. I get it, buddy.
Does pull off the dry fit.
He does. He pulls off a great dry fit.
Him and Cliff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Cliff was the first of the dry fit game.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
he
not
was doing it
wearing-
like Manziel.
Yeah, I'm not wearing that. I don't own a collared shirt.
I think he went. Didn't he go at Texas A&M when they were Adidas? Didn't he just go like plain black?
I
I think he went like no logo.
Yeah, I am a Nike guy.
I mean, which is a hand to the face. Of, I mean,
It's the
Nah,
MJ move.
He
It
went.
is.
He went black. It was just a black like
long
black long sleeve.
Yeah, big long sleeve
black
guy.
long sleeve A&M
Sure.
shirt.
I like the black. I like the long sleeve dry fit, even in summer months.
Yeah.
It
I like
depends
the
on what you're
feel.
doing. You got to know if you're going to be inside all day.
Yeah.
But if you start wandering around outside too much, especially here, especially now, it's hot. Summers, it's here.
No, it's here. It's here for sure. I mean, it's 90 degrees at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, like it is. It's hot.
What other place would
and
you want to
humid.
be?
at like 5, it is like sticky hot at 5:15 in the morning.
It's that catch a sweat on your way to the car high.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're just
Absolutely.
like, oh, my day's ruined.
Yeah, now I gotta shower.
But I
again.
still like the long sleeve dry fit in the summer.
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
I was a
You
big
go-
long sleeve
Yeah.
dry fit guy in the summer.
Yeah.
You go long sleeve shorts?
Long sleeve shorts. That's pants.
That's a tough look.
No, long sleeve with long sleeve with shorts.
Yeah.
Because that's a tough look. That's very like
Collegey.
collegey, or I just got off like a deep sea fishing trip.
Yes.
Like that's what those people remind
Still
me
young
of.
and athletic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the dry fit's a tough look unathletic.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd.
It's just very unforgiving.
It'll get
Right?
it'll
It's
get
like
stuck
TB.
in. Yeah.
It's like TB12's pants on the
golf
tee
course.
box.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
It's just
you're standing
there.
in the open wind, bro.
This is who I am.
Unforgiving, right? That's why his chest is out, arms straight,
Yeah.
back straight. You know
Oh,
what
what's
I mean?
happening? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Let me see that
sorry.
picture.
Check this angle.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Jeez, we can't post that, bro.
Yeah, you
This thing
can.
looks fake.
I'll take it. I'll post it.
We were talking about Trev Falk earlier. Hardest I've ever been hit on a football field. Trev Falk, without question, lit me up as hard as I've ever been hit in my entire. I think this is back in the day when they didn't know what a concussion, what they were looking at.
There's certainly no targeting.
There was definitely no targeting. But I think that I was both concussed and targeted on this particular play because we were freshmen in high school playing at. I was playing at Catholic High. Was quarterback for Sid Edwards' team. Sid Edwards was the freshman football coach at Catholic High, and is now the head coach at Central. Has gone on to win many state championships and affect millions of kids, thousands of kids since these days. But he was the head coach, and we were playing Lafayette High. And this was back in the day where you play like the freshman games on like a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
The worst.
Tuesday afternoon, 4:00 kick.
After practice, like you had to practice a little bit.
Absolutely.
Keep
man.
your practice uniform on
Trev
and get on the
Falk
bus.
is the first off the bus, and everybody's like, "Is that? Did they pack the varsity team?" You know what I mean? Like, people are like,
Come here for
"Who's this guy?" They're like, "Oh, that's a freshman linebacker, running back we just picked up." Like, Jesus Christ!
Oh, he plays running back too. Great.
Yeah, I mean, like, give it to him every time. Like, give it to him every play. And we ran quarterback keeper on, you know what I mean, on a play, and I'm running, and it feels like I'm gonna score. Like, it feels like I'm in the open field. I think if you know that feeling, kind of like you're like nothing but green in front of you. You made like two people miss. You know what I mean? You're like out and running. You're kind of like, oh, and like the crowd's like, go, 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 go. And all I see is one player, like a safety. All I need to do is just make a stutter step, just kind of like step back, let him miss me, and it's 6, right? I mean, like it's almost walk-in, feel like. And as soon as I stutter to make that step, I mean, I'm kind of loose, not guarded, you know what I mean? Not like crunched up. And Trev Falk is running full speed downhill at me, kind of like he thought he was either going to catch me from behind, you know what I mean? Like rip me down. Or he was probably praying.
Make a move.
Like go ahead and stutter,
Dance,
brother.
white boy.
Yeah, right. And I came up to stop like that one time, and Trev Falk put the crown of his helmet in my ear hole, and my helmet went. If you remember the Catholic High field back in the day, they had the track around the fence, and my helmet flew to the track, like past the sideline, tumbled onto the track, and as my face is like laying on the grass, I can feel my like just cobwebs, just like, and as soon as I open my eyes, I see my dad is like I can still see him like elbows on the fence, like looking at me like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, are you dead? Like, look at me. You know what I mean? Like, are you all right?
You good?
Yeah. But by far, the hardest I've ever been hit in my life was Trev Falk running downhill full speed, put crown of the helmet to the ear hole, and just, like, stood over me and, like, barked down at me like, it's one of those moments you're like, do I even like football?
Oh, that's a
You
quick.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't even know if I even like this much.
Is
I don't even.
football really
Yeah,
for
I
me?
don't even know if I'm like. I don't even know if I love the game like this.
I don't like this. I know that.
Yeah, right.
How often is this gonna happen?
Yeah, right. I'm good, man. I don't know if I need this anymore. But those Trev Falk, Brady James stories and days, man, get you reminiscing on all that stuff. But because Falk and James were so good. They were so good in that recruiting cycle. I mean, and this was when Trev was a freshman. He was a freshman at Lafayette during this time. So by the time they had gotten to, their junior, senior season, I mean, and for those guys, and Brady was up at Wassman High School for his freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and you knew about him. But once he got to West Monroe his senior year, and he played probably on the best, if not the best, one of top 3 high school football teams that this state has produced in the last 30 years. I mean, if you think about it, they had, obviously, Brady James was on that team. Tommy Banks was on the teams earlier than that, but they had Brian West, who came back to play at LSU, but he was drafted in the first round by the Chicago White Sox as a pitcher and came back to LSU and played defensive line, to give you an idea of how good of an athlete this cat was. I mean, he was incredible. Rodney Reed was a all-conference offensive lineman that was from those West Monroe teams. Jason Ledoux came from those teams. I believe he was the state's top player, or it might have been Adam McConaughey, who went on to play at Texas, was on those teams. But those West Monroe teams that year that featured Brady James, Brian West, Jason Ledoux, Adam McConaughey, that defense alone was incredible. I don't recall any offensive players on that team. Somebody can maybe help me out on that West Monroe team in 1999 that had Brady James and all those guys. But they were so big, strong, fast defensively with that West Monroe group in that particular season that I don't think that anybody kept it within 3 scores of them. I know that they played Catholic High in the state semifinal game at Memorial Stadium, and I was at Parkview by then, and we went to the game. We went to the game at Memorial Stadium, and Catholic High was good, man. They had Jermaine Hatch. Jermaine Hatch went on to play at Georgia Tech. And, I mean, they had some players, but that West Monroe team made that game look so unfair because they were so dominant. And Brady, by far, was their best player, but they were loaded, man.
Imagine being the middle linebacker before Brady James got there at West Monroe. You're like, oh, I'm starting middle linebacker at West Monroe.
Andrew Whitworth was a junior tight end on that team.
Huh.
He played tight end on that team because the left tackle, I believe, was Rodney Reed. So they had to get Whitworth on the field, and I believe they played him at tight end to give you an idea of how athletic Whitworth was and how loaded that West Monroe team was. Somebody told me about Cordell Music says he went head-to-head with Reggie Ragland for years. Ragland was a killer for Alabama, bro. He was a killer, man. He was a headhunter. Jay Chillin, he got hit by Simeon Rice in high school.
Wow.
Back in the day, and he was back in his place from Chicago.
But that's what I'm saying. You have an all-time name up there. Trev Falk is nothing to sneeze at. That's one that you could put in the memory banks. Be like, oh, he always killed me.
Always, and he remembers it.
Yeah.
Like I've told you about it. He's like, oh, I remember.
You're on the list.
Like your blue eyes up, boy.
Saw your old face.
Knocked you out of football. Yes, it was good stuff. Thank you for joining us today. Hit that like and share button. Hit that comment button. We appreciate your interaction. Make sure you're tuned in and subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, hit that subscription button and make sure you hit the bell to make sure you know when we put content out. Online, check us out at fm.co. fm.co is the website, the new website, EFFEMM.co. Check it out. As Jordy Culotta Show will be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Senator Rick Ward tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. talking about NIL and his days in the Senate coming to an end. 10 years, a decade he has pledged to our state for up there with at the state legislature. He will be in tomorrow morning at 8:30 talking a little bit more about it. Adam Wolf going to be through here. Ace Miller. I don't know why I always call him Adam Wolf. Ace Wolf. Adam Miller is going to come back here through that as well. Through here as well. Have a great day. Hit the like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Ow.